Hey,
Hey, how are you?
good. Hey, can I record on my end too?
Yeah, of course.
All right.
Can I allow
Under,
you to do that?
yeah, participants, and then you hit allow to record.
Yeah.
Under more, it'll say participants, and then I think more, I think.
Ba, 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 ba. Okay, you're in.
All right, awesome. It's not letting me. That's weird. Yeah, it's not letting me record it.
Really?
Yeah, I actually had a record button before, and now it's gone.
It says you're co-host. What if,
It's so weird. It went. Huh.
let's see now.
Okay, it says you are the host now. Security.
Let's see if that works.
That is so weird. Like there was a record button right here and then it went bye-bye. That's weird. Oh, well, no worries. We can just do it the old fashioned way. Your guy can send it to me.
I'll send it to you.
All right. How you been?
I've been crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so I lost my virtual assistant.
Oh, I remember you saying that that was working.
It was until it
Yeah.
wasn't.
Oh,
Isn't you would think that, I mean, we all have clients that have issues with
yeah.
with
Keeping people.
employees.
Yeah, keeping
Right.
people, huh?
And I didn't think I'd have the same issue with the virtual employees. Like
Yeah.
nothing seems to, prevent stuff from happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Any particular reason why they let? Are they
No,
career change?
he fell off the face of the earth. Nobody's been able to contact him.
Oh my gosh.
So we don't know what happened. And he's based out in Central America. So, and the company that I deal with, so I deal with a company that,
Yeah.
And now so they haven't found him either.
That's crazy.
I've been interviewing and haven't been thrilled with anybody yet.
Sure.
So
I saw a number. It said our unemployment filings, our employment rate, the amount of people applying for unemployment is like the lowest it's been in 52 years. And then I also saw that we have the most unfilled job positions that we've like ever had.
So what happened is that a lot of people just dropped out of the workforce.
Yep.
So the job openings are probably, I don't know how they keep the statistics, but do you think the job openings are probably the same as they were before? I don't think that there are that many new jobs. So
No. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like we have the same number of people we need to hire, but there's just not enough people filling those jobs. It's not like we added a bunch of jobs that just can't get filled. No, we're just trying to keep up with the pace that we were at before.
Right.
Yeah.
And the trouble is that the jobs that are there to be filled are probably not unskilled labor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They probably require some skill set
Or certification or
but
some background.
yeah. So it's challenging. I mean, although I have to say, we put an ad in. So I've been helping some of our clients do some hiring.
Yeah.
And I put an ad in last week so it's interesting. I'd like your take on this. So I think we've spoken a little bit about titles, right?
Yeah.
So the position was sort of front desk administrator. So we want somebody who has sort of some administrative level responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't want to say, so we were like, okay, what do you, it's, don't say front desk position.
That's furniture.
Doesn't mean anything. Receptionist is certainly not what we're trying to communicate.
Yeah.
So we put in office manager.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the only term that communicates what we're really looking for. I mean, we're restructuring this practice so that they have sort of like so that they don't have an office manager. So I don't like the term manager.
Yeah.
So a manager means that somebody underneath them needs to be managed.
Yep.
People don't like being managed.
Yep.
And if they have to be managed, they're probably not right for the position.
Person. That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
So I like calling it chief operations officer.
Yeah.
That was a position that we had in our practice. We had a COO. And then we had a front desk administrator.
Yep.
And then we had a clinical coordinator who was basically in charge of the dental assistants crew.
Yep.
And then there was a hygiene coordinator who was one of the hygienists who basically supervised the other hygienists. We had 3. So it worked. Chain of command, I think, is a big deal.
When you put office manager on it, did it get some resumes coming in?
Yes. Yeah. I got 30 resumes.
Okay.
And 8 good ones.
Mm-hmm.
And out of the 8 good ones, I did virtual interviews.
Yep.
I interviewed 5.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a great story. So the best candidate goes into the office. So the deal was I would virtually interview them. I would gather the recordings and the resumes, send them to the COO of the office.
Mm-hmm.
And she and the doc would look at them and then invite people into the office.
Mm-hmm.
So we all agreed that there was one who was just about perfect.
By far the best. Yeah.
They invite her into the office and she reeked from cigarette smoke.
Oh no. Oh. Something you can't figure out on virtual, huh?
There's no smell-o-vision.
Smell-o-vision. Yeah.
So I was like, so I'm talking to my wife who works with me. And she said, I wonder if maybe you have to adapt and ask questions about stuff like that.
How do you get to the smoky part? Let me ask you a question. Was she in dental before, or was dental new to her?
Yes, she was in dental before.
And she was smoking. Wow.
In dental before.
Unfortunate. Yeah. So, story time. I've done some preliminary hiring interview stuff, Zoom for people. Some things I ran into, people don't show up for the Zoom interview, or they make the Zoom interview, then they don't show up for the physical interview, which tells me they're approval addicted. They can't just have a conversation and say, hey, I'm not going to be there for whatever reason. And then All-Star Dental Academy has a whole hiring division. Robin does an amazing job. She's Ben Erickson consultant coach. She has a whole team of people. And she tells a story about you get these people and you see a resume and then you get this person in front of you and you just don't, and that's why the virtual does serve a purpose, because you're whittling it down. You go, okay. And I'll tell people when I do the preliminary, I'll go, look, I'm going to interview Zoom. I'll interview 4, maybe 5 people for you, but let's take the resumes, whittle it down to 5. I'll do the Zoom on 5, but I'm only going to send you 3, maybe 2. And you do in-person interviews, 2 or maybe 3 of them. And out of those 3, those are the best choices we have. Nobody's going to be perfect, let's say, but those are the best 3 you're going to get right now. That's been historic. Now it's more like I got 3 resumes and I'm going to interview all 3 of them by Zoom. And I'm going to send all 3 of them into your office, but we're just going to rule out some obvious poor ones, right?
Yeah. So we would whittle down. So we would whittle down the resumes and send out invitations. So I think we sent out 8.
Yeah.
I think 5 responded. Or 6 responded. 6 responded. I sent out interview invitations to those 6. 1 didn't show up.
Yeah. Yeah. That's about right. It's a
So
new
1 out
thing.
of 6.
this no-show rate.
And I was sort of happy with that.
Yeah. That's a new thing. And since COVID, that's been the new thing. Don't show up for an interview. I can't believe it.
So
Shocking.
when I was in practice in Manhattan,
Yeah.
that was commonplace.
Really?
I would say almost 50%.
Wow. No show for an interview.
Do not show up for
Why
interview.
do they not show up? Why did they agree to the interview and not show up?
I don't know. So somebody I know had a theory about why it's happening now.
Yeah.
And that is that unemployment
The
insurance
unemployment. Yeah, that's right.
requires you to prove
Have
that you've
interviews.
been going.
Here's the email that I set up. Yeah.
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 But
I know
anyway.
why it's happened since COVID. That's why it's been happening since COVID. That to me is no brainer. Why it was happening before, busyness of New York, maybe. I don't know. That's odd. So here's my question for you. Besides, let's go through some how-to. When you got the resumes, I use practice administrator, that's the title I use, or maybe lead practice administrator, things like that can work. Office manager, 2 things. One, just the process of how did you get resumes, Indeed, and what did you do? But 2, when you got people saying yes to office manager, how did you change the thought process? Yeah, we lured you in with office manager, but it's not an office manager position, or how did you do that?
So
part?
that was a discussion that we had. How do you avoid being perceived as baiting and switching?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the issue is that we're a managerless practice.
Yeah.
However, so we have a chief operations officer. We have a
Gotcha.
CEO. The doctor is the CEO.
Yeah.
Right. Chief everything officer. Then we have a COO, and there's no manager. There's a front desk administrator. There's a clinical administrator. And that they report to the COO. And I say, look, we don't have a manager, but the position has all the necessary skill sets that a traditional office manager would require. So yeah, I get that out of the way first.
Good.
And if they're still interested, and they are. I mean,
yeah.
And it is. And the fact of the matter is it's a position where you're going to have people under you, reporting to you.
Yeah.
You're going to be doing their reviews along maybe with the COO. You're going to be responsible for hiring and firing, or at least input into that. It is a salaried rather than an hourly position. So it is at administrative level. So we're not going to count your hours. You're going to do whatever you need to do to get the job done.
Yeah.
So we did use Indeed.
Okay.
We used it we use and I can't tell you what the name of the program is. I apologize. There is a program that you can actually use that interfaces with a bunch of job posting sites, Indeed and ZipRecruiter and Monster and then you can add money to it to boost certain ones.
Yeah.
So you can boost ZipRecruiter, you can boost Indeed, you can boost Monster, and that's what we found. So when we first posted things with no financial boosting, nothing, crickets. Once we started boosting with some money, we got, and I think part of it also is you need to put in the salary range.
Yeah.
That's because I think that
Got to be attractive.
Yeah.
You got to make it attractive. I think what you're saying is you got to make it attractive, whether it's the wording, it's the details you give it versus, what is this? You got to describe your practice a bit. What type of practice, where is it located? Don't leave anything hidden.
Yeah. So I actually encourage all our clients to have an employment landing page. So it's a landing page that describes basically the, the mission, vision, values of the practice.
Mhm.
And on it, it should have videos of existing employees talking about why they work at that practice.
Mhm. Who creates that? Their web host designer?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know that
Mhm.
you guys work with a marketing company.
Mhm.
We work with a marketing company that does that for our
Yeah.
clients.
Yeah.
But landing
Yeah.
pages, I think you have to change.
Mhm.
You have to change things around, and
Professional. Yeah, it's
you
professional.
have to always be hiring.
Yeah. Always be hiring. Yep.
Yep.
So you mentioned the word salary, and I'm in California, and creates a big problem because you really can't have, it's so hard to justify someone being on salary now. Just like it's so hard to justify someone being 1099, it becomes really, really complicated. And so, yeah, I have to say to clients, I'm like, well, you got to look at your state and figure out what you're allowed to do. But having someone be salaried becomes, at least in California and maybe some others, becomes problematic with that definition. But we take that annual salary and say, this is what it works out to an hourly wage. And here you go. Yeah. I think it's because in California, after hour 8, you're supposed to be getting overtime. And so
that's where it becomes really sticky.
Yeah.
And look, so I had this whole issue with 1099, independent contractors.
It's almost impossible.
While I was in practice, and actually got audited by the New York State Unemployment Insurance Division, which basically can't claim that I wasn't paying unemployment insurance to doctors. So I employed associates and specialists in the office. So
that makes sense.
And they were employed as independent contractors.
Yeah.
And they changed the law probably about 10 years ago to make it really, really hard to become to pay somebody as a 1099 independent contractor.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible to fulfill that definition.
That's what I keep hearing. Yes.
You probably, the only way you can probably do it is if you have someone who is who works multiple offices.
Yes.
Who travels, who who makes their own schedule, maybe who even has their own dental assistant. It's really, really hard.
Yep. Most offices will end up having their associate be an employee and pay them regularly. I do see the traveling specialist fall under the 1099 category a lot. And again, it depends on the state. And I would defer to Robin and All-Star for all those questions. But yeah, she's knows what's going on there. I can't keep up with all the different states and laws. I don't know.
No, look, I think, you mentioned, Robin using Bent Erickson, whom we used. I think it's really, really important that every practice have an HR company as part of their board of advisors.
That's right.
I'm in the midst of my practice management lecture series for Temple University.
Yeah.
And one of last week's lectures was your board of advisors. I mean, you got to collect people who you can rely on for advice. And look what happened. I'm sure you had the same thing during the pandemic. All of a sudden, people were scurrying to find out what the laws are about, hiring, furloughing, firing, PPP. So they needed HR people, they needed accountants, they need bankers, they needed all these people that they really should have already had access to.
Yeah. Planning, you got to be planning ahead of time, but we didn't realize. And I think people try to get by with, okay, what do I not have to have? What can I skate by with?
That's right. I mean, and that's, I tell the story. So in 2006, I went into a partnership with two other docs, and we built what at the time was probably the world's most technologically advanced dental practice.
Mhm.
I mean, we had special equipment from Sirona,
Mhm.
and the president of Sirona was in our office. I mean, we had all kinds of amazing stuff.
But no accountant.
So we had it. We had a dental CPA. We did.
Nice. That's
We had a
important.
dental CPA. We had an attorney.
Mhm.
We had a banker.
Mhm.
We did not have an HR
Mm.
attorney.
Yeah.
And we wound up having to get one because one of our employees basically put a gun to
Yeah.
our heads and told
Yeah.
us that if we didn't give her X number of dollars, she was going to sue us for discrimination.
Mm. Wow. Nice.
It didn't, but
Yeah.
that was a $35,000 lesson.
Wow.
Not that, and
Yeah.
I'm not sure that could have necessarily even have been
Avoided.
avoided,
Yeah.
but we had to scurry to find the HR person
Yeah.
and
Dental.
again, state specific.
And in dental. Yeah. Dental related. So HR, accountant, CPA in dental, I think that's huge. And then attorney, banker, a coach.
Consultant coach.
Yeah. Yeah. What else?
Financial advisor, because, that's sort of my pet peeve. Most people have historic accountants. They're there to fill out the tax forms.
Mm-hmm.
They're not usually advisory.
Mm-hmm.
The really good ones are.
Mm-hmm.
Good ones are going to say, okay, this is what you need to do to help avoid paying, ridiculous amounts of taxes, et cetera. So if you have a historic accountant, you need to supplement that with some kind of financial or tax advisor. I think you need a dental equipment supply person.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Yeah. Dental supplier. Good lab. I think good relationship with your lab, maybe even a one-on-one relationship with your lab.
So I like to have multiple labs at my beck and call, but I do like to have one that is sort of my primary. The worst number in business is one.
No flexibility in that, huh?
Yeah. So yeah, but I know offices that, and this is really important, I think, now, because inflation is such a big deal, and people are going to be looking to cut costs. Do you cut costs by buying your dental supplies on eBay or Amazon, as opposed to going to your local or larger, supplier? And, you have to think about, well, what happens if something happens with that compressor? What happens if there's an IT glitch that prevents you from taking radiographs? I mean, you have to protect your ability to function. And if that's tied into, your supplier, you may need to think twice about saving a couple of cents here and there, as opposed to keeping the relationship intact.
Yes. Yeah. It's funny, right now you're seeing these labs send marketing pieces saying, we will give you this digital scanner for free if you'll do all your lab work just with us.
Right. And we had actually, so it's funny because our relationship with Sirona went back to 2006. Obviously, we used CEREC at the time. That was the thought process, is that eventually everything would be sent to a lab, as it is sort of now. We were a little ahead of the game. And that the lab would give the scanner. I mean, the scanner, you can get a decent scanner now for like less than $20,000.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, you're seeing them for 65,000.
So we had, in 2006, we had scanners in every one of our rooms. They were built into the units.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was called inline. I forgot what it was called, but it didn't go over well because, we were actually given, we were the first installation in the United States, and they wanted to use us as sort of a showcase.
Yeah.
But it was stupid money.
It's crazy.
It was stupid money. I
Yeah.
mean, we had 10 rooms, and I think all but 2 of the rooms had scanners on them.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And the biggest, what we didn't realize
Mm-hmm.
was that the scanning technology was going to change so rapidly.
Yeah.
So we
Oh
were
my
still
gosh.
we were still powdering. In 2006, we were powdering.
Yeah, that's right.
And, fortunately, that partnership ended in 2010.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a victim of the recession.
Yeah. Gotcha. Gotcha.
So, my partners didn't quite understand some of the nuances of business that I did,
Mm-hmm.
or marketing, which was a bigger deal.
Mm-hmm.
So my practice was fine. So our practices were sort of separate. We sort of shared the facility.
Mm-hmm.
My practice was fine. Their practices suffered,
Yeah.
which is unfortunate.
So 2010 changed a lot of things for people, but obviously sometimes it was for the good, right?
It was certainly for the good for me, because I was
Yeah.
able to then, focus on what I thought was important. So I was always into the oral systemic connection.
Mm-hmm.
I ran a hospital residency
Yeah.
program. I was
Yeah.
always involved in the medical community.
Yeah.
And that's what actually, and I think that's a very important thing right now. That's what saved me
Mm.
from not having a down year in
Mm.
2008. When people focus on their health as opposed to something else like cosmetics.
Yeah. Or even just outside of dentistry, buying a car or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, this is what I do. I am committed to doing this because I know it's for my personal health.
Yeah.
They're not gonna change that.
That's right.
That becomes habituated, and that helped me avoid any financial problems. And then I just leaned into it. Once I opened Manhattan Dental Health, which was the next version of me. And then I just really leaned into the oral systemic stuff.
Yeah. And we track with our clients, making sure that we track perio percentage and hygiene, because then we know this is being managed. Do you guys track that and have a number? You say, okay, this is the bar we're setting for the percentage of perio that's being done in your hygiene department.
So, yeah. So, look, I love metrics.
Yeah.
And is yours 25%?
So I say 30 to 35%, but I'm happy if I can get them over 25. I try to set that bar at a certain level so that they're striving to get there. Yeah.
So I like the idea of, we can have a whole conversation about this because I'm very passionate about it.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with Michael, what was his name? Anyway, he was the editor-in-chief of the Journal of the American Dental Association, JADA.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we sat on the board of a not-for-profit, and I had a conversation with him one day, and he lifelong academic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about saliva testing.
Yeah.
Which I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still sort of a KOL for oral DNA.
Mm-hmm.
I write blogs for them and stuff.
Okay.
I'm a big supporter. And he said to me, do you charge for it? I'm like, of course I charge for it. It costs me. I think it cost me, and I did it in bulk, so I got sort of a discount. I think at the time it probably cost me $100 some odd. I didn't charge that much more. I mean, I think I charged 150. I mean, I didn't make money on the test really.
Yeah.
Well, he said, but are you basing your recommendations on that? I said, well, to a certain extent, I'm basing recommendations on it, but more importantly, I'm using it as a sort of corroborative third party report to show people why they may need to come in every 3 months.
Yeah. It's like a second opinion right there.
That's right. Now, if I take a test and somebody doesn't have any of the red zone bacteria, okay, you know what? 6 months, fine. But if you have a lot of those red zone bacteria, now we may talk about some ways that you might try to get rid of them. And there is no
silver bullet.
There's a lack of evidence-based data to show how that's done. Granted. So
yeah, you're gonna try things.
His point was that, well, there's no evidence. I said, well, let's go back to the 1970s when there is evidence base that these red zone bacteria will stick around unless you get them out every 13 weeks. 13 weeks. That's there. We know that if you get the bacteria out every 13 weeks, well, that's a 3-month recall. And that is the only evidence-based interval that we have. There's no evidence-based data that says that 6-month recall works.
That came from a toothpaste commercial.
It came from a Pepsodent commercial in 1928.
Way back.
Brush your teeth twice a day, see your dentist twice a year.
Yep. That's
Madison Avenue created the 6-month recall.
Yeah.
So I love, look, I did a lot of TMJ stuff as well. And I loved the T-scan. So I don't know if you know what T-scan is. It's like a little sensor, a wafer-like sensor that people bite on.
Yeah.
And it shows a computerized, digitized analysis of where, when, and how much pressure you're putting on different areas.
For their bite analysis.
Now, I shouldn't say, it's stupid because if you go like this, or you go like this, or you go like this, or you go like this, your bite's changing.
Yeah. You're laying back in a dental chair or something.
It's changing.
Yeah.
So the bite is a very dynamic thing. And this is taking more of a static image. But what it does do is it shows people.
It awakens the patient too.
We're putting all this pressure back here.
Yeah.
In this position. And that's just not healthy. So you correlate it to what the clinical picture is. So you're having, pain here, or, joint pain here, or whatever the clinical issue is, it just gives them that corroboration. So it's like joint sound analysis.
This is what gets me excited for people who are, it's exciting and frustrating. And I want you to tell a story. You don't even know what story I'm going to have you tell, but I'm hoping that you know the story, being that you have this relationship with Temple University. So what's happening is people are booking so far out, yet they're not increasing their production. If we're this busy, we have to figure out a way to do things better. Stop trying to do so many things on so many people and try doing focus on one mouth. And how do I get one mouth as healthy as quick as possible? And that's how you could change it. And the bite and the perio and the systemic connections and everything make it possible for us to do full mouth dentistry if you know how to explain it. And so the story that keeps reminding me is, I need more new patients, or I need to be able to see so many new patients, when actually sitting in their records and sitting in their charts are acres of diamonds. And so I'm hoping that you know the Temple University story about acres of diamonds. Do you know that connection? Have you heard of that before? No? Okay. All right. It's my turn.
Tell me a story.
It's my turn to tell you a story. Okay, so you're going to need to like dig deeper when you go watch this, or when you hear this, you're going to need to dig deeper. Okay, so here's the
So
background of it, right?
I've only been teaching at Temple for 2 years.
Okay, all right.
So
So
30 years at
Russell,
Columbia.
yeah, Russell Conwell.
I don't know.
Okay, the founder. All right, so I'm looking online. Acres of Diamonds offers multiple lessons, work and education. Dr. Russell Conwell founded Temple University on a belief and a dream. His belief was simple: there are acres of diamonds all around us. That story. So this story I'm going to tell is what founded Temple University per se. Okay, so it's a true story, and it's just about being aware of what's around you and the opportunities that are right here. And so there was this in Africa. There was this farmer. This is centuries ago. He was meeting with his religious mentor of some sort, right? This guru comes and talks to him and tells him the story about diamonds. And he goes, I need to find diamonds. I want to find diamonds. I want to be rich. I want to make a difference in my life. And so he tells his family, hey, go over here. I'm going to go in search of diamonds. I'm going to sell this land, and I'm going to go buy the land where the diamonds are. So he sells his farm and he goes off, and he's, basically searching the globe by foot, going from Africa up into Europe. Unfortunately, he ends up with no money. He loses spends all his money looking for diamonds. Bad news is he ends up committing suicide. He jumps off a cliff in Spain. In the meantime, the spiritual guru starts to develop a relationship with the person who bought his farm. And he's meeting with him one time, and he looks up on the mantle on the farm, that this guy lived on. And on the mantle is this black rock. And he says, oh, so-and-so's back. He showed you the diamonds he found. He goes, no, what are you talking about? That's not a diamond. That's just a rock I found out in the riverbed out here on the farm. And he goes, there's hundreds of them out there. He goes, that's a diamond. And they go and they look at it closer, and they were still learning what diamonds were and figure it out. The guy had sold the farm that eventually became the largest diamond mine in the history. It created like the crown jewel for the Egyptian whatever, right? And so the story goes, stop being so distracted with what's out there to do next, and what's the next big technology, and what's the next new patient, and start really paying attention to that patient that's coming in right now in hygiene, because you're not at 30% perio. You haven't completed their whole treatment plan. They haven't completed full mouth restoration and done everything to save their bite and do all these things. And the Acres of Diamonds says, oh, I'm not going to put pitch in it. Where's my new patients today? Where are my new patients today? And it's about focusing on, hey, 2 patients a day, look at them from your hygiene department and say, how do we convert this person? What have we done differently? So our coaching comes from a standpoint of the verbal skills and systems to make that happen, and say, convert 2 patients a day into full mouth case acceptance, and how to do that. So that's the Acres of Diamonds story. So I want to hear from you next time when you go back to Temple and say, what's this Acres of Diamonds thing, and see what you come back with. I want a picture of.
I'll speak to Dean Ishmael, find out.
All right, so good. Yes, I want to know.
That's how I wound up teaching there. I developed a relationship. Again, I was on the board of a non-for-profit with several deans, and Dean Ishmael from Temple, and I struck up a really close relationship. And when the pandemic started, he called me up. He said, hey, listen, you know what? You don't have to travel 2 hours anymore. You can just do it virtually.
Right here.
Okay.
Right here. Love it.
But so I think the theme moving forward, because inflation, so I have the advantage of knowing what inflation means, because I started my practice in the 70s.
I was gonna say, so you had the 80s.
So I had the 70s,
70s,
and I had the 80s. I had a little bit of the 90s. So the challenge is that most of the younger dentists don't have a clue. So they've been lulled into a false sense of security over money. Because even if you make more money with inflation, it's buying you less. So just looking at, I mean, you've seen this, you ask most dentists what their numbers are. The only number they really know is they know their collections.
That's right. Production and collections. Yeah.
Right. They don't know overhead percentage. They don't know what was up. Right. So I think the theme moving forward is making more from less. So, I think as you said, using what you have, most dentists want to make more, think they need more new patients. They don't. They need to have stronger relationships. They need to be the trusted advisors. They need to be the people that when something happens or when there's an opportunity to convert. So we always talk about that,
That's
and
right.
that's a challenging thing for most hygienists, right?
Yeah.
When what are the signals that now is the opportunity to convert that patient into a once a year or maybe even once every 6 months to, hey, listen, you know what? Something's changed.
That's right.
And now we have to maybe sit back and reevaluate things because we don't want to keep watching things.
That's right. Just watch it get worse. Yeah. I use the analogy, and this would be a great verbal skill for everyone. It's like, I use the analogy of somebody doesn't wake up in the morning and go, oh, they grab their arm and go, I think I have high blood pressure. Your body just changes at some point and it's just not able to keep up. Your doctor tells you that. Your dentist tells you when it's time to start taking care of periodontal. It happens with time, with age. And we just got to be aware of it. And so I love that you said relationship. That's what All Star Dental Academy is about. On the phone, developing relationship, developing rapport, getting people on board with relationship. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. We've learned this, but yet we want to talk about the T scan or whatever it is, right? It's a part of it, but if you don't have the relationship first, they're not going to care about the scan. They're not going to care about the periodontal probing instead of evaluation. All these things play a role in how people portray you. And yes, you don't have to have a ton of patients to be a successful practice. I've got a doctor. She's working 4 days a week, one hygienist, and they're out producing big practices. The reason for that is they're doing all the dentistry.
Well, so that's a big part of it. So So I don't know if we've spoken about this, but in most practices, where did new patients go to first?
It depends. It's so funny that you say that. Sometimes it's, the doctor's got to do a 90-minute comprehensive examination. And other practices go, patients always call for a cleaning, so we put them in hygiene. And I can never get it feels like for me in my career in analysis has been split down the middle for that.
So mine hasn't. I would say that very few practices schedule that comprehensive exam with the doctor first.
They go through hygiene.
Most of them go right into hygiene, which from an academic and professional standpoint, I find very distasteful because it's automatically minimizing the relationship with the doctor. You're starting the relationship with a hygienist. And I understand. So we had the same issue that everybody else does. Patients call, they are calling new patient and they want a cleaning. So first of all, we try to, we develop the relationship first before we start telling them or educating
on the
them
phone.
that we don't do cleanings.
Yeah.
I intensely dislike the word cleaning because it does not describe what a visit to the hygienist is.
Yeah.
And every visit to the hygienist is customized for that individual. That hygienist is going to do an examination before they do anything else. Why? Because they need to know what to do. They need to know what the issues are.
Yeah.
So in my practice, unless someone, if it was a kid, it was a college student, they're home from college, they hadn't seen a dentist for a while, they need to come in and they need to get their
age-wise.
Fine, no problem. You're going to see the hygienist and I will do an examination. But for the most part, I needed to do the exam. From a perio standpoint, the lecture I'm giving on
Yeah.
tomorrow, is
Yeah.
on coding, right?
Mhm, mhm.
You don't do a prophy until after you've done periodontal
Comprehensive exam.
therapy.
Yeah.
Well, how are you going to know what
What to
kind of
do.
periodontal therapy you need?
Need a pair
Who's going to
evaluation.
who's
Yeah.
diagnosing it,
Mhm.
and who's treatment planning it, and
Yeah.
who's presenting the financial arrangements for it? So in our practice, what we did, and I like to have that bacteria profile
Mhm.
already there, so that I was able to say, I and the hygienist were able to say, listen, this is what we're going to do. And then we're going to have a 3-month maintenance for a period of time. And then we're going to retest you.
Mhm.
And let's see how we do. And,
See the changes.
exactly. I think the biggest challenge is that doctors do not comprehensively
Yeah.
diagnose.
I won't even let them count them as a new patient till the comprehensive exam has been completed.
Yeah, but that's a code.
Mhm.
And what I'm talking about is what is a comprehensive exam? Does the
Yeah.
comprehensive exam, is it just teeth and gums? Or is it TMJ? Is
Mhm.
it occlusion?
Yeah.
Is it orthodontics? Is it
Mhm.
airway? I mean, is it sleep? What's involved in your comprehensive evaluation? All right. I mean, my comprehensive evaluations literally took 90 minutes. And at the end of 90 minutes, if it was a complex case, I didn't sit down and recommend any treatment.
Mhm.
I was collecting data. And I told the person, I said, we took all these tests. I need to get it's going to take me hours. Many times it did. Hours to sit down with all the data we
Figure it
collected
out.
today
Yeah.
and look at them. I mean, photographs, photographic series, every single new patient,
Mhm.
right?
That's the
X-rays.
making more from less, where you can't see 20 new patients a month like that. And, you know, there's just too much, maybe you're seeing 12 to 15 new patients a month and being able to do that. Then that's the making more from less.
So I kept meticulous records from the time I started practice,
Mhm.
which included how many new patients I got every month.
Mhm.
And it ranged between 12 and 24.
Mhm. So
Average
18
about
18 a
average
month.
about 18.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when
Yeah.
you're diagnosing comprehensively and you're developing relationships so that you convert those treatment plans into case acceptances,
Yeah.
then you don't have an issue. As a matter of fact, and I think you're right, at that level, if you have an 80% case acceptance rate,
Yeah.
you can't
Where are you
do
going
it.
to put them?
Yeah, where are you going to put
Yeah.
30 new
If
patients?
somebody's telling me you're seeing 60 new patients a month, it's either scratch practice or you're doing something wrong, because there's no way to do all that. So I
Yeah, I
totally
mean,
get
look,
it.
unless you're seeing those 20-year-olds.
Yeah. I tell clients, this is the ideal way to do it. And you'll have to forgive me, because then I say, but there are ways to grow your practice without sacrificing doctor's time when it doesn't make sense. So I have them see the doctor and his team in that hygiene opening tomorrow for an hour. And the hygienist works to collect data. She's not a hygienist. They don't even know it. There's no cleaning involved, whatever. She's the doctor's assistant collecting data. She gets production for the x-rays that we do. And then doctor comes in the hygiene room and exam types it and goes, oh my gosh, this is a simple case. Let me just, whatever. Or goes, wow, most of the time, I'm going to have you back in my schedule now. And I'm going to schedule you and then we exactly schedule how much time you're talking about right there. So my version of what you're talking about sometimes could be the second visit. Now, ideally, it's the first visit, but if we have a hygiene cancellation tomorrow, and like right now, everybody's booked out so far, we'll put them in for a starting point, but it's just meant to get the ball rolling, to sink our teeth into the patient, to build a relationship and not say, yeah, our next new patient visit is 4 weeks out. They come in tomorrow, and then we have a whole way that we present it. And then they come back in 4 weeks and they do exactly what you're talking about. But we just get the ball rolling a bit.
So the other advantage of having a bacteria profile is that, and I don't really have the data on that, but my gut sense is that it cut down on hygiene sort of rescheduling.
Well, there's more value. They more perceived urgency and value.
Exactly.
Perio means when perio goes up, the cancellations go down. Absolutely.
Right.
All right.
So, our challenge with hygiene was we didn't have enough time. We didn't have enough hygiene time. And we had, I was basically a single doc. And we had 10 days of hygiene. So
yeah. So you had yeah.
So 4 doctor days.
Gotcha.
10 days of hygiene.
Oh, so you had five days a week with 2 hygienists every day. I gotcha.
No,
Yeah.
so I had 4 days a week with 2 and 2 days.
2 days you had 3. Yeah, I gotcha. I get it. Yeah.
Which was a nightmare.
Too much. Yeah.
Way too much.
Whole other conversation. All right. This is good. I like it. Good talk today. So I think the moral of the story is go find your acres of diamonds. What are you sitting on right now that you can do to help patients get healthier and do less with more? I think doing it properly so you can make more with less is how you said it. Yeah.
Make more with less. And because that's
all right. Great. Well, let's do this again. Let's schedule May's meeting.
Okay, cool.
All right. You want to keep with this the first Monday of the month, and we'll do our fireside chats there. All right. May
2nd.
Yeah. Monday, May 2nd. You want to do 1 or 2 Eastern?
2 Eastern's great.
Got it. Same bat channel, same bat time. Got it.
Works.
Perfect. Well, send me the link for the recording and we'll get it out there for everyone.
Wonderful.
All
Thanks,
right.
Eric.
Take care, my friend.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.